name is Vanessa. I'm one of the nurses at the Massachusetts General Hospital Vascular Center. And April is Organ Donation Month, is National Organ Donation Month. So today with me is Ingrid Palacios, a Community and Family Service Coordinator from New England Donor Life Services, and Meredith Pitsey, a critical care nurse from the Massachusetts General Hospital Neurological Intensive Care Unit. Since April is National Organ Donation Month, and the Mass General recently celebrated 55 years of the first organ transplant, which was actually a kidney, we thought it would be really helpful to identify the organ donation process and maybe answer some common myths and misconceptions that the community might have around organ donation. So first, let's start with a little bit of background on how the organ donation process actually starts. So Meredith, take us through the journey of when a patient comes to the neuro ICU at the Mass General with a life-threatening condition. You know, what happens next?
Well, Vanessa, thank you for having me. Well, I'll give you an example of a patient coming into our unit with a subarachnoid hemorrhage, which, as you know, is a very serious brain bleed. And treatments for this condition might include having surgery, brain surgery. They might have a brain drain placed that would help relieve pressure in the brain, help relieve some blood, some other fluids that can build up as a result of the bleed in their brain. They would also receive medications that could help with swelling in the brain. They could also receive medications that would help support their blood pressure during this very sick time that they're experiencing in the ICU. The bottom line is that there are many life-saving interventions that this patient would receive in the intensive care unit in an attempt to save their life. Some will survive the brain bleed, and unfortunately some will not. But the most important thing is that the family understands that everything has been done to save their loved one's life.
And I think that's really important because, you know, if this were to happen to me and a loved one of mine, I'd really want to know for sure that you really tried everything you could, you know, prior to any other conversations to try and save their life. And it sounds like you do.
Absolutely.
So what would happen, you know, next? Let's say, you know, this is my loved one and it looks like really nothing can be done. They've had this really bad subarachnoid hemorrhage and you've tried everything. Nothing's working in it, and it looks like, you know, they really are going to die or not have the quality of life that I know, you know, they would ever want. You know, what happens next at the bedside?
Sure. And I think it's important that you mention quality of life because that is a lot of what we discuss in our end-of-life discussions. And then that is what happens, is that we end up having a discussion with the family about end of life. And so while the family is making a decision about end of life, my role would be to support them through that discussion and decisions that they are making, and it would be my responsibility to then contact my colleagues at New England Donor Services like Ingrid and have them come help support and the family and help them through decisions to be made.
So thank you for having me, Vanessa. So at that point, when we receive the call from nurses like Meredith that we get from every ICU, we will make a plan to respond to the hospital and to make an assessment whether that patient could become an organ donor or not based on their medical condition. And this plan, if that patient gets determined to be that could be an organ donor, then we make a plan with the care team, which includes the pastoral care, social workers, the medical team, medical interpreters when needed, to see what is the most appropriate time and the most appropriate manner to initiate this discussion with the family. This is going to be based on family dynamics, cultural backgrounds, beliefs, and where the family is in the process of making their decisions. And so we do this in a very compassionate and sensitive manner, as you can imagine, and with the hope that donation can bring something positive through what they're going through.
Sounds like a really thoughtful process where, you know, at possible one of the worst times of, you know, someone's life,
lives.
you know, the nurse is supporting that family at the bedside, and, you know, the timing seems more appropriate. It doesn't feel rushed. You really are there to support. You know, if this were to happen to me and my loved one, you're really supporting me through this process, and I feel like I'm, you know, informed and having, you know, strong guidance, but of course timing to allow me to better understand the situation that my loved one is going through. So actually, let me bring it back to just a little bit of background on New England Donor Services and how you kind of came to be and how long organ donation has been happening.
Yes, and so organ donation actually has been happening for a while. Since 1867, the first skin transplant was performed. And then
a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. In 1954, the first successful kidney transplant was performed, which was also involving a living donor, actually. And so for our organization, we've been around since 1968. We are the oldest independent organ procurement organization here in the United States, the New England Donor Services. So our mission is to save and enhance the lives of others through organ and tissue donation. So that's what we've been doing since.
That sounds great. And it sounds like you're very well established with what you do.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've come across many common myths and misconceptions about, you know, what organ donation actually means. Can you take us through some of those common myths that, you know, the community might have about organ donation?
Absolutely, absolutely. There is many misbeliefs or misconceptions, as you mentioned, and very common and very valid ones. You know, sometimes we get influenced by the media or things that we read or see in the TV that are not necessarily exactly what really donation encompasses. So I thank you for the opportunity for me to talk a little bit about these facts. We will start with one of the most common beliefs that I have a medical condition, therefore I cannot be an organ donor. So just so you know, anyone, regardless of any medical history, can sign up to be an organ donor. So we will be the ones determining at the point, if God forbid something happened to someone, that we will be the one determining if someone can be an organ donor or not. So very, very few conditions will prevent from someone to become an organ donor, such as active cancer or a systemic infection, but other than that, pretty much everyone can be an organ donor. The next one that I want to talk about it is I'm too old to be a donor. So just so you know, there is no age limit for anyone to become an organ donor. There's no age limit for donation. To date, the oldest donor in the U.S. was age 93. So there is no limit.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
What really matters is the health and the condition that the organs are at the time of someone's death. Okay? So the next one is, I don't think my religion supports donation. The fact is that most major religions support organ donation and consider donation as the final act of love and generosity towards others. If they see I'm an organ donor at the hospital, they will not try to save my life. And I think that Meredith covered that at the beginning of our conversation. And I wanted to emphasize that when you're sick or injured and admitted to a hospital, the one and only priority is to save your life. So once all efforts have been done and once all life-saving treatments have happened, and if they happen unsuccessfully, that's when maybe donation is something to be considered. And that's when the donation discussion starts.
If I could just interject and
Yes.
say, Ingrid, if you don't mind, that we don't know what someone's status is. Some people don't, in today's day and age, you can register to be an organ donor, and I think we're going to discuss that later on.
Yeah.
in our conversation, but we don't know if somebody has designated themselves as a donor when they come in. We don't know what anybody's wishes are when somebody comes in, and unless somebody has said that. But regardless of that matter, the ultimate goal when you are sick in the ICU and you are my patient or anyone else in the ICU's patient is to save the life, like we've talked about. So.
It's never part of my journey. Like if this was me coming through, you would never, that wouldn't even come into play
Correct.
until really
Until
it's time.
Yeah,
Correct.
and this needs to really be stressed enough, because this is one of the actually most common misbeliefs that people have. In every culture, in every language, this is what I hear first. Oh, I don't want to register because what if, they know in the hospital they're going to know I'm registered. They're not going to try to save my life. So thank you, Meredith, for that clarification. So the next one, very common too, my family will not be able to have an open casket funeral if I'm a donor. So an open casket funeral is absolutely possible. Just keep in mind that the transplant doctors are going to be operating and recovering the organs are surgeons, and the body of your loved one is always going to be treated with dignity and professionalism. So you absolutely can have an open casket. My family will have to pay for the donation. There's no cost whatsoever to donors or their families when it comes to organ and tissue donation. Somebody could take my organs and sell them. Federal law prohibits buying and selling organs in the U.S. So we're very, very heavily regulated by the federal government. So everything is done under the law and ethical standards. And so that's not something that should even be
Yeah, you
a
don't even have
worry
to
of
worry
a
about it
concern.
because,
Yeah.
especially in any hospital in Massachusetts, you're going to a place that's going to be law-abiding institutions,
Exactly.
so you really don't have to worry about that at all,
absolutely.
or in any state.
Yeah.
People in the LGBT community cannot donate. There's no policy or federal regulation that prevents a member of the LGBT community to donate. And as we were talking earlier, because of the HOPE Act that was approved a couple of years ago, now people that have HIV can also be donors. I know this is well known for certain people in the community, but so many people also don't know this. So that's important that we mentioned that. So that's pretty much all the most common ones that I have heard
Those
while
are really
working
helpful.
with families. Yeah.
Thank you, Ingrid. So I think, now that you've totally sold me on organ donation in regards to, me making an active decision and being involved in this process, what do I do next if I were to become an organ donor?
Well, thank you so much for your interest. That's very generous of you. I don't know if you know there's over 115,000 people in the waiting list waiting for an organ. So your interest,
115,000
yeah,
people?
over 115,000.
Wow.
So yeah, over 22 people are gonna die today waiting for an organ. So I'm very grateful that people like you are thinking on donating. So you can register as an organ and tissue donor, which the organs that can be evaluated for donation that you're going to be registering for are the heart, lungs, kidneys, pancreas, and intestine and liver. And so with that, someone that become a full organ donor can save up to 8 lives. And also, when you register, you also register as a tissue donor, which can also save the lives to up to 50 people or transform the lives of up to 50 people. So you can make a huge impact on those people in the waiting list.
Wow.
By you just registering as an organ donor and talking to your family about it. Make your loved ones aware that you are an organ donor, that this is what you want if in the event that, God forbid, anything happens to you. And so you can register online. And this takes seconds in registerme.org, or you can, when you go to the DMV to get your license or to renew your license, you can say, mark yes for organ donation as an organ donor. Now that you know what the organ donation,
And that's how I get that little heart on
you get that little heart,
Yep.
exactly, which means that you wanted to be an organ donor. And also you can even register in your iPhone. It's as easy as just taking your if you have an iPhone, the health app, you just can like register there also in seconds.
Ingrid, I have my phone here. And I'm going to have you walk me through this because, to be honest, I'm not the best in terms
Me
of.
neither, but if I can do it, you can do it.
You know what? We're all going to do it together.
That's like a very easy, and thankfully it's very convenient. So you
Great.
just press in the health app.
Okay, and this also, just to make note, so let's say in the event, of course, that I end up having a life-threatening condition like a subarachnoid bleed and the doctors can't save me, I become a donor after, I have something called brain death. But if I wanted to possibly donate an organ while I'm still living, that's an actual possibility,
That's also
right?
a possibility. I'm glad that you asked. You can do it as a living donor. You can donate kidneys and liver, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So that's
you
really
could.
cool to
And
know,
you
too.
can live a very healthy life after that. So
Okay.
thank you for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to walk through the iPhone version of registering to become a donor. So I
Press in
just
there.
want to press the health
The
app
health app,
that automatically comes on your phone.
Yes.
Okay, and there is your icon, and it says registration, and I put my name. Actually, this is already filled in for me.
Yeah,
But
it auto-populates from
Yep,
the
it auto.
information you
Look
have
at
it.
this.
Yeah,
it
you don't even have to
auto-populates.
enter it again.
Got to put my married name in now. And so I have to choose my date of birth, put in my social security. Hold on, folks, you can't see that.
My 74-year-old mother just texted me the other day. She got an iPhone, and she's texted me that she did this. So it's got to be pretty
See
easy.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, so
It has
oh
to
my
be
goodness,
easy.
now the pressure's on. And I change my address in here. I choose my sex. All right, and then it says continue. Oh, you know what? It actually won't let me go through until all my information's in there. So let me should hide my birth date from you folks too. Let's not keep you guessing. All right, so let me put my birthday in there. Okay, whoops. 79. Okay.
So it's pretty much your basic
now it's highlighted
information.
for continue, so I can
Yes.
press continue and I confirm registration. Yep, that's me. That's my address. I'm a female and I complete registration with Donate Life. Oh, I get a thank you. As a nationally registered donor, you're now part of an effort that saves thousands, hundreds of thousands of
Yes,
lives,
that's
possibly.
awesome.
Yes.
If you'd like, you can share your decision with friends, with family and friends. Which actually, I can share my decision. Shoot, I just clicked OK. But you can apparently share your
In
decision.
Facebook,
Oh,
you can.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, a
That's
little marketing
cool.
strategy too.
Yes.
That's fantastic. And I think, you mentioned this already, that we should have this conversation. And it is kind of a deep conversation.
Yes.
But you should always let your family know what your wishes are.
Yeah.
It makes the
Absolutely,
decision
yeah.
process a lot easier when they feel good about
Makes it
Knowing
makes
what
it
you
easier
wanted to
for
do.
them.
Yeah,
and then they will want to honor your wishes in the event that something happens to you.
So the conversation's super important. And then, of course, I have this backup of possibly my license or even now my iPhone
Yes.
in the event that they don't know my status. But I
Yes.
probably should be talking to them,
Yeah.
to them about this. So,
Yes, exactly.
everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think this has been very helpful for me. I hope it's been very helpful for the community. Ingrid and Meredith, thank you so much for your time and really walking us through, what it would be like to possibly be in this situation. How supported, the family and friends of the loved one. Really is. It sounds like there's a really tremendous amount of support and education and guidance that goes into this process. If it, were in a situation where there was nothing that could be done for my loved one. And walking us through some of these common myths that probably so many of us might have about organ donation.
Yes.
I think is truly helpful in ultimately making this decision about whether or not you would want to become an organ donor.
Yes.
And clearly, there's many ways to do it. I can donate, at the DMV, or donate. Can't donate at the DMV, but I can register at the DMV or on my phone. And of course, having that conversation is super important.
Super important.
All right, so thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Hopefully,
Thank
we've
you.
educated the community.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching.